In 2008, during my campaign for Congress, I got an anonymous tip, a phone call from Washington, D.C. A man with a disguised voice told me to look at a particular lobbyist and her association with the incumbent. I did. I sent a private detective to talk to her. The report was she was shaken like a leaf, and I knew I was onto something. But the election came and went, and I went on with my life. But I couldn't let go of the feeling that the system was totally rigged, that it was totally corrupt, and that I had to do something about it. So in the last election in 2010, I continued on my battle against corruption. And I labeled the incumbent what he was, wherever I went: corrupt. He was selling legislation for money. He was benefiting his friends, the female lobbyist, his two sons, everybody who had ever given him substantial campaign contributions seemed to get some sort of legislative reward. And this is, in fact, exactly what I've been fighting against all these years: the corruption that emanates from Washington, where Congress rewards their campaign contributors and they penalize the rest of us, where they give contracts to people who do nothing but pocket a portion of it and waste the rest, destroying the economy the whole time, destroying our drive for happiness the whole time, destroying our belief in the system the whole time. But I tell you what, I will not ever give up. In 2010, I continued to hammer the incumbent for corruption. But I went even further than that. I started investigating his link with a very famous and very corrupt lobbying firm, the PMA Group. That group was enmeshed in scandal. They had a scheme where they were buying off members of the Appropriations Committee, which they were, with campaign contributions. Each of those members were investigated by the FBI, including the incumbent. None of them were charged. It was all whitewashed. But nonetheless, the files were there. I wanted them. I was quite certain the FBI was a little bit more interested in this criminal activity than the Department of Justice was. But the FBI said, no, you can't have those files. The incumbent's right of privacy is more important than the public's right to know, they said. I said, no way. That's not true. That isn't the law of the country that I live in. And so what I did, in 2011, I filed a lawsuit against the Department of Justice. I wanted to force them to release those FBI files on the incumbent. I wanted to show the world how corrupt the system was. Well, the Department of Justice, they didn't respond right away, but ultimately, 4 or 5 months into it, I was able to rattle their chain and they started to get involved. 1 month later, the incumbent decided to end his career. There is no accident here. I had him surrounded. I went after him. I went after his sons that he set up on sweetheart deals that would cost the government millions of dollars. I went after his female friend in Washington, D.C. And I went after everybody I could that was benefiting from this corrupt enterprise.